All right, so get ready to dive deep with us today into the world of shamanism.
It's going to be an intense one.
We're going to be focusing on this idea of death and rebirth
Oh, yeah.
through the experiences of John Rasmussen.
That's right.
You might know him from his blog, where he shares
sees some pretty wild stories.
Wild stories about his journey as a student of shamanic practices.
His experiences are intense.
Yeah, like some of them sound almost unbelievable.
I mean, they really make you question things.
Absolutely.
Push the boundaries of what we think we know.
So, to give everyone a little background,
Okay.
John's been trained by Alberto Villoldo.
Yeah, Villoldo's a big name in the field.
A really influential figure.
Definitely.
And a lot of John's work draws inspiration from
Like directly inspired by
the Cuero shamans of Peru.
Yeah, the Cuero, they're known for this deep,
profound connection.
That's a word, profound connection.
To nature and these ancient Inca traditions.
Yeah, those traditions are so powerful.
No, one of John's most powerful experiences.
And he's had a few.
Yeah, it sounds like he's had a lot.
Oh, yeah, lots of stories.
But one of the most powerful.
I think this one is really central to his journey.
It happened during a ceremonial expedition.
Oh, yeah, this is the one in the Andes.
In the Andes Mountains?
High altitude, sacred mountains, incredible.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
It really does, almost like an Indiana Jones adventure.
But it's more than just an adventure, right?
Oh, absolutely.
These ceremonies are designed to...
They push you to your limits, physically and spiritually.
It's like they're forcing you to confront your fears.
Yeah, and embrace the unknown.
So can you paint a picture for our listeners?
Okay, so imagine this.
John and his crew.
They're trekking through the Andes.
Carrying this heavy...
It's made of brass, I think.
Brass Inca sun staff.
Uh-huh.
And they're planting it at different sacred sites.
Almost like they're recharging the Earth's energy.
Yeah, like reconnecting those ancient energy lines.
It's a powerful symbol, connecting the past, present, and future.
Linking everything together.
And that's just one element of a much larger ritual landscape.
Okay, so there's more to it than just the sun staff.
Oh, yeah, much more.
Tell me about these jaguar lagoons.
Okay, so there are these two lagoons.
Male and female jaguar lagoons.
At the male lagoon, they perform this ritual.
Called hucha.
It involves throwing stones into the water.
What do the stones represent?
They symbolize negative energy.
Okay, so it's like a physical act of releasing.
Yeah, letting go of those burdens, the things that are weighing you down.
The things that are no longer serving you.
Exactly, and it's like preparing for the journey ahead.
I like that, preparing for the journey.
It's a powerful metaphor, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
You can apply it to your own life.
That's so true.
Like, what are your hucha stones?
Yeah, what are we holding on to that we need to let go of?
It's a great question to ask yourself.
And then there's the female jaguar lagoon.
That's where things get really interesting.
This is where John's story takes a bit of a turn.
A very interesting turn.
So apparently his teacher, Alberto...
Villoldo?
Yeah, he had once been
Tricked by his own teacher.
Oh, wow. So it's like a lineage of teachers.
Yeah, passing down this knowledge.
And this teacher tricked Villoldo into...
diving into this freezing lagoon.
Oh my gosh, in that high altitude.
Yeah, and he had to kiss the bottom.
Kiss the bottom of a freezing lagoon.
It's crazy, right?
That sounds intense.
But it's a test, a rite of passage.
It's about pushing through that discomfort.
To reach a deeper understanding.
So John, wanting to honor his teacher...
Yeah, he wanted to follow in Villoldo's footsteps.
He decides to do the same thing.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
He had been sick earlier in the trip.
Oh no, not a good time to be diving into a freezing lagoon.
And the combination of the altitude, the cold water, the exertion...
It just pushed him over the edge.
He was already vulnerable.
Yeah, and that ritual just took everything out of him.
Like he was forced to confront his own mortality.
He became delirious.
Had to be helped back down the mountain.
And then...
He even describes feeling like he was in a Western movie.
Really?
Yeah, swaying on the back of a horse.
That's wild.
It's almost like he went through a symbolic death and rebirth.
You know, that brings up a good point.
What's that?
This experience highlights a core shamanic belief.
That confronting death, even symbolically, can be a catalyst for transformation.
Like it pushes you to change and grow.
Yeah, to see the world in a new way.
So wait, he recovers?
Yeah.
I mean, diving into a freezing lagoon while sick?
Doesn't sound very healthy.
Doesn't sound like the best idea.
Right. But he wakes up the next day back at his hotel.
No way.
In Cusco.
Feeling totally fine.
Like nothing had happened.
It's almost like he was reset.
Exactly. A complete reset.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
It sounds like this experience really impacted him.
Beyond just the physical.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would have a lasting effect.
Oh, absolutely.
He's had other near-death experiences before. Right?
Yes, yeah.
But this one?
This one really solidified his understanding.
Of the shamanic approach to death and rebirth.
That's exactly it.
And this is where things get really interesting for us.
For our listeners.
Because it's one thing to hear about these wild adventures.
Yeah, the stories are captivating.
But how does this actually apply to our lives?
Right, that's the key question.
I mean, I'm not planning on diving into any freezing lagoons anytime soon.
Most of us aren't.
So how can we take these ideas
And make them relevant to our own experiences?
That's what we're going to explore.
That's where the real depth lies.
And this is where John's concept of dying every day comes in.
That's a powerful concept.
And don't worry, it's not as literal as it sounds.
No, not at all.
Right,
Yeah.
dying every day. It sounds intense.
It does, doesn't it?
Maybe even a little morbid.
Yeah,
But I'm intrigued.
good.
What does that actually mean?
Well, it's about recognizing that change is constant.
Okay.
Everything around us is in flux,
Yeah.
always evolving and transforming.
So it's not about, like, physically dying.
No, not literally dying every day.
Oh,
It's
goodness.
more about letting go
Oh.
attachments
Oh.
and being present in each moment.
So instead of resisting change,
Yeah, we need to get comfortable with it.
embrace the impermanence of life.
Exactly.
It's easier said than done, though.
It is. It's a practice.
Because we cling to things,
We do, don't we?
relationships,
Possessions,
even our own identities.
like they're permanent.
But nothing stays the same.
Nope.
Everything changes.
Everything.
So John's saying that by acknowledging this truth,
Uh-huh.
by dying to those attachments,
Symbolically dying to those attachments.
we can actually live more fully
More fully.
and experience greater freedom.
Greater freedom.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
And I think it's something a lot of people struggle with,
Oh, definitely.
especially in today's world.
It's a tough world out there.
Everything feels so fast-paced and uncertain.
And we're bombarded with information.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the chaos.
So how did John himself go through this process?
Well, it sounds like at first
Yeah.
he was drawn to those more extreme physical tests.
Like the lagoon.
Exactly, pushing himself to the limit.
But as he delved deeper into shamanic practices,
Yeah.
his focus shifted more
Means?
towards inner work.
Cultivating that mindset of letting go.
Through meditation and ceremony.
Those are powerful tools.
So he's saying there's a less dramatic,
A gentler way.
a more accessible way
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
to die every day.
Exactly.
I like that.
He talks about choosing the easier way.
Okay.
It involves consciously
Mm-hmm.
and deliberately confronting the possibility of change.
So whether it's the end of a relationship
Job loss.
or even our own mortality,
Yeah, facing those big questions.
by engaging with these concepts
Uh-huh.
through practices like meditation,
Meditation can be so helpful.
we can build up resilience
Absolutely.
and make the actual experience of loss
Yeah, when those things inevitably happen.
less traumatic.
Less dramatic.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It's like practicing for the inevitable.
Preparing for those ups and downs.
So we're not completely blindsided.
When they hit.
He contrasts this with
Yeah, he calls it,
the hard-forced death.
which is often unexpected.
It throws us into chaos.
It can feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you.
He actually uses the pandemic as an example.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect example.
That was definitely a collective.
A global, hard-forced death.
For many people,
So many people lost loved ones.
jobs, a sense of normalcy.
It was a global upheaval.
It really was.
And while those experiences were incredibly painful,
Incredibly painful.
John believes they may have also served as a wake-up call,
Oh, interesting.
forcing people to reevaluate their priorities.
To confront the fragility of life.
Exactly.
You know what's interesting?
Books that.
He compares the look in the eyes of shamanic students
After their training
to the expressions he saw
on TV commentators.
during the height of the pandemic.
Interesting comparison.
What was it about their expressions that struck him?
He said they both seemed to have
Yeah.
tasted death
Wow.
and emerged from the experience
Mm.
with a newfound depth and wisdom
Like they'd stared into the abyss.
and come back transformed.
And this brings us to something crucial for our listeners.
The big question.
Okay, I'm all ears.
How can we?
Those of us who aren't shamanic initiates.
Right. People like you and me.
Start incorporating this idea of dying every day into our lives.
Yeah, it's a big idea.
Are we all supposed to go find a freezing lagoon?
No, definitely not.
Okay, good.
John emphasizes that it's not about seeking out danger.
Or putting ourselves in risky situations.
It's about finding what works for you.
So what does he suggest?
He encourages us to find teachings and teachers
Teachers that resonate with us.
and to explore practices like mindfulness and meditation.
Mindfulness can be so powerful.
It can.
So it's about cultivating that awareness
Of impermanence.
and becoming more comfortable with change.
In a safe and supportive environment.
Exactly.
He specifically mentions a meditation.
Oh, which one?
It's called the Destiny Journey,
Destiny Journey.
created by his teacher.
Alberto Villavato.
Right. He believes it's a powerful tool
For exploring these themes.
for facing our fears and embracing the unknown.
He even played it for his mother.
In her final hours,
Wow.
he believes it helped her transition.
With more peace and ease.
That's what he said.
That's a beautiful story.
It is.
And it really highlights that these practices
Yeah.
aren't just about facing our own mortality.
It goes beyond that.
It's about supporting those we love.
As they navigate their own journeys,
Absolutely.
it's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience
Both the light and the shadow.
and recognizing that even in the face of death,
There can be beauty, peace, and connection.
that's the paradox.
So, as we continue to explore John's insights,
Mhm.
I want to ask you, the listener,
Yes, our listener.
what does dying every day mean to you?
What does it evoke for you?
What are those attachments
Those hooch stones.
you might need to release?
What are you holding on to?
And how can you start incorporating these practices
Into your own life.
in a way that feels authentic and empowering?
It's your journey.
You know, it's almost like
Like what?
John is suggesting that by acknowledging death,
Mm-hmm.
even embracing it,
Mm-hmm.
we can actually find
Yeah.
more freedom and joy in life.
It sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
But think about it this way.
Okay.
When we're constantly clinging to things,
Mhm.
afraid of loss and change,
We're not really present.
we're not really living in the
We're
moment
so busy worrying about the future
or dwelling on the past,
that we miss out on.
the beauty of what's right in front of us.
Yeah, we miss out on the now.
Exactly.
And John's experiences.
With those shamanic
the
practices,
ceremonies, the near-death experiences.
you've given him a unique perspective.
He's not just talking about this theoretically.
He's lived it
He's embodied it.
in a very real way.
And I think that's what makes his message so powerful.
It's authentic.
It comes from a place of experience
It's not about becoming obsessed with death,
or living in fear.
right? It's about finding that balance.
Cultivating a healthy awareness of our mortality.
Exactly.
Recognizing that life is precious.
And each moment,
Is a gift.
he even suggests that embracing death this way
Mm-hmm.
can make us less likely to
Less likely to.
engage in risky behavior
Oh, interesting.
because we've already confronted our fears,
Made peace with the unknown.
faced those deep existential questions.
It's like by acknowledging impermanence,
We become more grounded,
more present.
more capable of making conscious choices.
So it's not about seeking out death
No, not at all.
or courting danger,
It's about shifting our perspective,
so that we can,
live more fully.
knowing that change is inevitable.
And what's fascinating is
Yeah.
this concept of dying every day. It can take on so many different forms.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly.
It might mean
Letting go of a grudge.
forgiving someone who's hurt us
Stepping outside of our comfort zone.
to pursue a dream,
Or just being more present with our loved ones
savoring those everyday moments.
that we often take for granted.
So it's about finding what resonates with us
What feels true for you
and incorporating these principles
and to our lives.
in a way that feels authentic and empowering.
That's the key.
So as we wrap up
Our deep dive
into John Rasmussen's experiences,
and his teachings.
I want to leave you with this final thought.
A question for you.
How can you incorporate this concept of dying every day?
Into your own life.
What small changes can you make
To embrace the present moment.
to let go of what no longer serves you?
And to live with more intention.
More purpose.
It's a question worth pondering.
And I believe that John's story
It gives us a powerful framework
for exploring these themes
and for finding our own unique answers.
by embracing change,
And letting go of fear.
we can unlock
A level of freedom, joy, and connection.
that we may have never thought possible.
It's a journey.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into death and rebirth.
See you next time.
For another exploration of fascinating ideas and perspectives
That challenge us to think differently.
and live more fully